Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Derek Vick, and I would like to welcome you to the 29th Annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. State Ceremony. Your MCs for today will be Gerald Moreland and myself. Now, before we get started with the program, I would like to recognize today's platform guests for their involvement and support of this event. I would also like to recognize the East High School Vocal Music Director and the East High School Choral Group. And finally, if you look at the back of your program, you will find that we have listed the MLK Planning Committee members. I would like to recognize all the members for their tremendous amount of time and effort spent planning this year's program.
Okay. Welcome to 2015. Indeed, as we look back to 2014, it is more and more evident that the country is still striving to determine exactly what unity means. While progress may have occurred in some sense, we still must ponder how far we still have to go. Be it together we stand or united we stand. We all know that this adage has been with us for generations. For example, here are some famous unity quotes that are important to reflect back on time to time. Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is a progress. Working together is success, by Henry Ford. Unity, to be real, must stand the severest strain without breaking, by Gandhi. The unity of freedom has never relied on uniformity of opinion, by John Kennedy. Unity itself and the idea of unity are already two, by Buddha. We have learned to fly the air like birds and swim the sea like fish, but we have not learned the simple art of living together as brothers. Open, honest debate is essential in every democracy, but it is only through active listening can we expect the consensus or compromise needed to move forward as a community. It is the committee's hope that 2015 brings profound changes which accompany cooperation, less gridlock, and an increased level of unity that brightens a picture of a better community. At this time, if everyone will rise for the presentation of the colors and remain standing through the opening song.
Right, face. Very close. Just raise that on.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed as the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Order, arms. Ready, face. Left, face. Forward, arms.
We invite you, O God, maker of man, heaven and earth, giver of compassion and love. We invite you into this place. Bless us with your presence. May we understand the great gift and learn from you to love, to care, and to be efficient in mankind, to all of creation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Where's the choir? As the East High Choir come to us at this time, for those of you who feel that you should sing along with Lift Every Voice and Sing, you can do that. But at this time, we present the East High Choir, Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Let it
be seated.
Well, good morning. Now we can do it. Good morning. All right. My name is Pete Ferguson. I serve as the Youth Development Coordinator for Lincoln Public Schools. But more importantly, I'm here to introduce a young lady with some scholar reflection. To kind of put some things into context, I wanted to start out by saying the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, otherwise known as SNCC, SNCC, was founded in 1960 by young people who emerged as leaders. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and others hoped that the SNCC would serve as the youth wing of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the SCLC. The students remained fiercely independent of King, generating their own projects and strategies. Although ideological differences eventually caused SNCC and SCLC to be at odds, the two organizations did work side by side throughout the years of the Civil Rights Movement. Now, if one were to be honest with themselves, the movement would have failed without the efforts of children and young adults. They weren't merely the frontline protesters, but many were organizers and leaders within this movement. As it is, and as it was then, it is today. Many times, and in many cases, adults only become involved in the movement when a child is wronged or one of their child convinces them to stand up and speak out. The annual Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Youth Rally and March is to be held Monday, January 20th. And we see this as an extension of the SNCC, or the Children's Crusade of the Civil Rights Movement. The scholars that make up that planning committee are committed to the promotion and the life and dreams, not just the dream, but the dreams of the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, and will do that through promotion of positive youth action in the community. We must see through their eyes that we understand the interpretation of those individuals who played a key role in American race relations and social justice, and how these poignant figures continue to address the struggles for racial and social justice. This is evident today by some of the portraits of the movement pieces that are over here to my left that were created by Sco Middle School. However, it is also through their eyes that we need to see the promise. Now, we need to see that promise, but we also need to see that lack of promise that they may see is not just their future, but when we collectively as a society repeatedly show that all lives don't matter. When we need to show that the right to breathe the air is not just the entitlement of a chosen few. Mahalia Jackson at the March on Washington urged King to tell the audience about the dream. Today, I do the same for scholar Simi Smith, a senior at Lincoln East High School, who will speak to how the blueprint of the past allows us to stand up so all can speak out together.
Good morning. My name is Simone Smith, and I am a senior at Lincoln East High School and a planning committee member for the 2015 Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Youth Rally and March that will take place here at the State Capitol Monday, January 19th. I stand before you today, Friday, January 16th, recognizing the formalized civil rights movement of the 60s. While segregation can no longer legally be practiced, the challenge of equality for all still exists. This is why I stand here today. I stand before you to ensure that civil rights do not take a backseat to a new iPhone. I stand before you because LeBron James going back to Cleveland should not gain more attention than the achievement gap between minority and white scholars. I stand before you today realizing we live in a society that tells us we can be president, at least if we are a man. Yes, we still have work to do, which is why I stand here today. I stand here today so we don't forget the distraught faces of Hurricane Katrina in 2005. I stand before you to remind you how we unified as a country after 9/11. I stand here today because there is work to do when in 2014, the state of Nebraska as a whole has the highest rate of black homicide victimization in the country, not Omaha, the state. I stand here today before you as a reminder of hope, just like many others have done each and every year. It is the inspiration and trailblazing of people like Fannie Lou Hamer, Congressman John Lewis, who led the march across Edmund Pettus Bridge for voting rights, Hattie McDaniel, the first African American to win an Academy Award, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, Stuart Scott, who gave a face and voice that we, minorities, could put our flavor not just on the field, but the reporting of what happens on it. These and many more inspiring voices remind us that if we want to see change we not only wish to be, but need to be, we must stand up and speak out. State of Nebraska, City of Lincoln, we have work to do. To my peers, be strong and have pride in who you are. Don't be afraid to make waves and do what's right, even in the eyes of people who disagree. As Desmond Tutu said, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. To our educators, challenge us so that we can reach our full potential. To our parents, encourage your children to have a passion for making a change. Let them know it's okay to let their heart burn for something. And give them the support to stand up and speak out. Dr. King said, the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education. Congressman John Lewis's words about the movement then are applicable now. We cannot give up. We sure can't give in. We can't afford to become bitter, become hostile. You must keep the faith. And if I may add, stand up and speak out. Now, more than ever, our community's youth need you. We need you to stand up and speak out that our lives matter. We need you to listen when we, you, or others are snuffing the breath out of our hopes and dreams because we aren't able to breathe. We need to do more than talk about change. We need you to be about it. We need to ensure that Nebraska legislative body puts forth laws that address the needs of all, not just a few. And we know this is possible if we all work together to turn Dr. King's dream into more than that. I stand before you today to let the community know that the blueprint of King still has progress. However, my stance is realistic. Amidst this developing progress, we must still remember that we are not finished. We have a long way to go. And it will take all of you here today and the inclusion of youth to make his dreams a reality. Thank you.
Simi, thank you for the great, inspiring words. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I announce the new governor of the state of Nebraska, Mr. Pete Ricketts.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Gerald, for inviting me here today, and for everybody here. I really appreciate it. It is an honor to be able to help celebrate and remember all the tremendous work that Dr. King did to advance the cause of civil rights and freedom in our country. And I appreciate the members of the Commission who have helped work on putting this event together. And of course, the wonderful voices we heard from the East Choir and Simone. These types of events are important because they bring us together as a community. And it's important that we remember the things that are great, like celebrating our great heroes like Dr. King, as we move forward. And as we gather here in Lincoln, the site of our state capitol, who is named after one of our greatest American presidents, who helped shape the destiny of our state, we continue to welcome people who value freedom and search for a better life. And the strength of our state lies in people like you. It's our people that give our state strength. And it's important to remember how we are pulled together here, that the success of our state will continue to rely upon us as Nebraskans pulling together. That's been always one of our great strengths. The Nebraskans are engaged in their communities, engaged in their churches and their schools, and that we have a common purpose. And I'd like to read a quote from Dr. King. It came from a letter from the Birmingham jail that really gets at this. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all. Oh, I'm sorry, let me get that right. Affects one directly, affects all indirectly. Because we are one community. And that's why I think it's so important that this humanitarian award for the community in Nebraska really represents that we here in Nebraska are a welcoming state, that one of our strengths has been that we work together, that we pull together to solve our problems despite our differences, and that we need to continue to do so in the future. And today as we gather to remember Dr. King, it's a time of remembrance, a time of celebration, but also a time of new beginnings. We remember the great work that's been happened in the past, but also that we have much more work yet to do. And that these celebrations serve not only for us to remember what's happened in the past, but to re-energize us for what we needed to continue to do in the future. So again, thank you all very much for asking me to be a part of this celebration. I'm excited to be here. It's an honor. And at this time, I will go ahead and sign the proclamation that will declare Monday to be Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It's a privilege and an honor. There you go. Thank you very much. I will give this to you for safekeeping.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Oh, you want to get a picture? Thank you, sir.
All right, next, I would like to introduce, on behalf of the Mayor's Office, Lincoln City Council Chair, Mr. Carl Eskridge, to present the city proclamation.
It is indeed an honor to be here to represent Mayor Beitler and the City of Lincoln in this important gathering and occasion. Exactly 1 year ago, on this day, a neighborhood in north central Lincoln woke up on an icy, gray January morning. One of their neighbors, 27-year-old Jarvis James Long, was found dead in Peter Pan Park. His family, his neighbors, the community was shaken by this loss of life, an apparent homicide. Almost immediately, People gathered, neighbors, the family, Lincoln Police, people from Parks and Rec, Lincoln Electric System, religious leaders. The community gathered to share their love and support, but above all, to see what they could do to get that park back in their hands, to reclaim it as a place of love and life and enjoyment. In fact, one of the groups that gathered was the Community Crops Group. And they, this last summer, built gardens so that indeed families are being fed out of that same ground. It's a tremendous, tremendous thing. Flash forward 11 months. Just this last December, there was a tiny, tiny little story in the Lincoln paper buried in the second section someplace. And all it said was, late one night, a Lincoln police officer stopped an individual in the park who was arrested for carrying a gun. Well, I was curious about that story, and so I contacted Chief Pashong with the Lincoln Police Department and asked him if he could tell me more, give me more details about what really happened there, and he did, and the story was really incredible. You see, what had happened was, as a result of that death a year ago, Lincoln Police stepped up their observation of what was going on in the park, especially late at night, because they wanted to make it safer. And so about midnight, this December night, an officer who's assigned to patrol the area sees something strange in the park, and he stops to investigate it, but before he gets out of his car, he calls for backup to let them know that he's going to see a man who's in the park. Well, indeed, he goes and he encounters the man, and the man curses him, calls him every name he could think of. That officer had a choice. He could respond in kind, or he could take a different road. He chose that different road. He talked to the man. He de-escalated him. He made him become comfortable. Eventually, the man said, "Officer, you need to know that I'm carrying a weapon." It's a semi-automatic weapon. He had a concealed carry permit to do so, but you're not allowed to carry a weapon in a park regardless of the permit that you have. This officer demonstrates the kinds of choices that we have in our lives wherever we are every single day. Which road do we choose? Do we choose the road of hostility and violence? Or do we try to make this world a better place? That's why we're here, is to make this world a better place. And so on behalf of Mayor Beitler, it is my great privilege and pleasure to present this proclamation to you in celebration of this important day for our community. Thank you.
We have work to do. You're absolutely right. That was beautiful. Let us give her a round of applause. That was beautiful. I'm so proud to be here today representing McDonald's Corporation, a company that I've been with for over 30 years, a company that has supported people from all walks of life. For the last 6 years that I've been coming here, I have been touched by essay after essay after essay, thinking to myself, what are we doing enough to help our children? Last year I was invited to the Hispanic Heritage, and I stood right here, and they told a story that I have never spoken in public before, not even my wife. But having a son that is going through the same things, I think it is important for me to share. When I came to the United States of America in 1976, I was bullied, made fun of, spat at, ran home week after week. And there was times I didn't believe in myself and thought because of the way I talked, the way I looked, I would never make it anywhere. It was because of my parents why I'm here today. They gave me the greatest gift anyone could give another person. They believed in me. And they told me, Andrew, you must turn the right cheek. And I'm like, what? I wanted to hear the words out of their mouth. Andrew, you must defend yourself. But no, my dad as a minister, he looked at me, Andrew, turn the right cheek and trust in the Lord, and he will see things through. Just like Martin Luther King, he went through a lot. He got arrested for just driving 5 miles over the speed limit. He got stabbed. And guess what? He forgave them. He never resorted to violence in any way. And the last speech that he gave before he got assassinated, he said, like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as a people, we will get to the promised land. And I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. As a father, as a husband, and a friend, we as adults need to help our children grow, give them guidance, surround them with positive thinkers and doers. If we don't help them, they will wander. If we don't help them, they will fall. I'm here to tell you today, if you feel like giving up, give up on that feeling and give into the realization there are endless possibilities waiting to be discovered before you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us parents to teach young people early on that in diversity there is beauty, and in diversity there is strength. Encourage yourself, believe in yourself, love yourself, and never doubt who you are. Thank you. I want you to say, there's students that's going to come up and read their essay. Please pay close attention to what they're saying, because every year it touches me. And just for their essays, the winners of the essays, they will be I bought them Kindle Fires last night, so you'll get Kindle Fires and you'll get $25 Arch card to McDonald's. And the other thing too is your essays will be displayed in every McDonald's store in the state of Nebraska. Thank you very much. Welcome the former First Lady.
It's a privilege and a pleasure to be able to share this special day with you. And Andrew, let's give Andrew another round of applause. Thank you for sharing your personal story. As I'm listening, many thoughts that I was going to share with you have already been said, especially in education. That's my career, that's my background. So I will share with you some personal beliefs. I truly believe education is the total foundation for our future. And these students today, you are our future. Quite often adults underestimate children and students, what they can do with their feeling and their thinking skills. I will share with you in education, and it does tie with Dr. Martin Luther King, because we need to teach beyond just intelligence, just beyond the knowledge. It also must include character. We see too many failures of companies. You've seen that with the CEOs who have very smart, very reasoned people, but they lack morals. That's why we had the downfall of Enron. That's why we've had the downfall of MCI. So many times, it's the lack of morals that really make a difference in the crux of our society. Additionally, students, we must teach thinking skills. Educators must teach thinking skills. And I don't mean just the knowledge and learning. I mean be able to discern fact, to discern fiction, discern what is the truth, what is being taught, what is truthful, what is not. Because that's going to save our world. That's going to save many students, maybe from our children as they grow up, from going and joining these radical groups. Because I will share with you too, the Archbishop from Bethlehem, a very intelligent person with the Orthodox religion, met with all types of religious leaders in Omaha one year, and he said a comment that just stuck with me. Anyone who hates, anyone who kills in the name of religion truly is not a religious person. They are not a religious person. And we must be able to teach our children how to think. And parents, Andrew made such a big point in his story. Did you notice he told us his parents made the difference? The adults in a child's life, if it can't be a parent, every child needs to have someone that believes in them. Someone that's their supporter, someone that will encourage them to learn and go forward, someone who will be there for them in their time of need and in their time of celebrations. They must have that support. So parents, don't ever underestimate your value as a parent. Even though as they get older, they say, leave me off. 2 blocks away, I'll walk to high school. That's the time they need you even more, is junior high and high school. So stay involved with your child's life. The last word I will leave you with is love. We read about the violence. You see it almost every night on the news. Students hear about violence. And violence only creates more violence. It's like a vicious spiral. So the revenge, the more violence, and so it expounds. The only one thing that will overcome that is love. And Dr. Martin Luther King expounded on that. And certainly in education, he really believed we needed intelligence, we needed knowledge and skills, but with character. We also need love to overcome the violence. And you know he was a nonviolent person. And we need to succeed and go forward with his dream, because every individual deserves respect. Every individual deserves to be treated with respect and dignity. So thank you very much for letting me be a part of this. Please listen closely to the students' essays as they have a chance to come up and read them, and it's very exciting. Be sure to note their level of insight that they've had during this research. I know it was part of their assignment, their paper. Hopefully they're getting extra credit for it in school with this. So at this time, we will have them come up and get a chance to read their essay to you. So Olivia Boland from Fredstrom Elementary School right here in Lincoln, would you come forward?
Hello. My name's Olivia, and I'm going to be presenting my essay. Martin Luther King, the man who brought two colors of the world together to make a beautiful rainbow that anyone can join, because he didn't want us to be judged by our outsides, but by our insides. Dr. King was a part of the racial equality. Dr. King has made a huge impact on my life. When I have experienced other kids judging me by my outside, I talked to my dad. My dad said, I talked to my dad, and I told him I wanted to make changes like Dr. King. He told me I needed to make small steps before I do big. I know that Dr. King had to do with the making of civil rights in our country, and I'm glad he did. He has taught people that we may not look the same, but we should be treated the same. So even today, I have the same dream as Dr. King, and that is, me and my little brothers will not be judged by our outsides, but by our insides. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. That was well done. Our next person is Simon Perkins from Park Middle School of Lincoln. Thank you, Simon.
Welcome, everyone. I am Simon Perkins. My essay is Together We Stand. As an African American youth currently attending Park Middle School, I believe that the fight for human rights and freedom is ongoing. Martin Luther King once said, "Faith is taking the first step when you cannot see the whole staircase." What I think Martin Luther King meant by this was everyone must do their part and take the first step towards equality, regardless what the outcome might be. This was Martin Luther King's foundation. He believed this to be true for every person and not just people of color. I strongly believe this is how we can come together if we stick to this principle. I have faith that if I am willing to take the first step towards equality, then the next person will follow. This gives me the confidence to set goals for my life, to do best in school, respect my family values, and give back to my community. Civil rights is a movement that never stops. Moving forward towards freedom, equality, and justice for all can only be accomplished if we continue to stand together. We must stop the violence and prejudice. If each person thinks of ways to help one another, we can accomplish this task. Helping our country to be nonviolent takes love and respect for our fellow brothers. Martin Luther King encouraged a multitude of people with his I Have a Dream speech. My dream is for everyone to ask themselves, what can I do to make a difference, and be willing to have faith to stand together regardless of our skin color. I take pride being an African American who wants to keep the dream of Martin Luther King alive and believing we can stand together. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. And together we can do so much. That's true. Jafia Reeves from Union College in Lincoln, if you would come up. You might want to give your name again if I mispronounce it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Jafia Reeves, and I am a sophomore at Union College, and my essay is entitled Keeping Promises. It was the day before Christmas, and my father had taken us to Best Buy to do some surprise last-minute Christmas shopping. As soon as we entered the store, my father declared, "Go pick out anything you want, and we will buy it for your Christmas present." I was dumbfounded for a little while, but then I looked at the riches of electronics before my eyes. I left in search of my Christmas present and soon reached the video game section. I'd always wanted a PlayStation 2, that was big back then. And now I was finally going to get it. But then a despairing thought struck me. What if my parents didn't want me to truly get anything I wanted? Maybe they were speaking only about specific, cheaper items. I quickly stepped back from that glorious PlayStation 2 and walked over to the computer games. Choosing the cheaper Madden 2006 and NBA 2K6, I brought them back to my parents, feeling as if I had fulfilled their wishes. Then my sister arrived at the cart. I couldn't believe what she had brought. She had picked a super fine Nintendo DS and a game to go along with it. The audacity, I thought. How dare she think our parents would be that generous? I expected my parents to scold her at any moment. But lo and behold, as we neared the register, it appeared that they were actually going to go through with buying the gift for my sister. My father looked at me one more time and said, "Is this what you really want?" I looked up at him and suddenly realized he meant what he had said. I snatched up those two wannabes and ran back to the video game section. There was my PlayStation 2 just waiting for me. In the end, I had a great Christmas. I cashed in on the promise my father had made. He was trustworthy after all. In Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech, I Have a Dream, he describes a promise made to all people, the promise of freedom. He points out that even though Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation granting all African Americans freedom, they were still being oppressed. Even though they had been declared free, adequate actions were not taken to defend their freedom. Later, Dr. King mentions the Declaration of Independence in the pursuit of happiness. Even if freedom is being withheld, we must pursue, as Dr. King says, the riches of freedom, as if it were a Christmas present that we had been promised. We cannot accommodate the luxury of cooling off or take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. We must seek freedom for ourselves and for others with every fiber of our being. We must always take the nonviolent, redemptive action against injustice. My father had asked me, "Is this what you really want?" If freedom is what we really want, then we can't merely believe it or say it. We must live freedom. We must help everyone cash in on the promise. And in doing so, we can be trustworthy after all. Thank you.
Thank you. Very meaningful words from everyone, and I'd like to have each of their speakers stand up. And would you give them, or our readers stand up, give them another round of applause for excellent thoughts to share with us. They deserve it, you're right.
I would like to ask at this time some help from the students from the high school. If you would take your place at on the choir stands there, because I'm going to need some help to introduce our speaker today. He's that good, okay? So if you would please go ahead and take your places. And also because I want to speak to you a little bit. And while they're getting in place, I would like the rest of the people here to just take a moment, turn to the people on each side of you and say, "I'm glad you're here." You know, as a pastor over the years, I've had the opportunity to hear a great many of Dr. King's friends talk about him. And one of the things that his friends have consistently said is Martin Luther King loved to tell stories. So let me tell a brief story and introduction for our speaker today. And this is one that came out of Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville is the home of Vanderbilt University. And there's a divinity school at the university, and carved in the cornerstone of the divinity school is a saying, Schola Prophetorum, School of the Prophets. Well, in the 1960s, when it came time to desegregate the lunch counters in Nashville, it was students who led the way. And those students were led by a student from the divinity school. His name was James Lawson. Well, when the chancellor of Vanderbilt University got wind of what Lawson was doing, he said it was unbecoming conduct of a Vanderbilt man, and he kicked James Lawson out of the divinity school. But when the divinity school faculty heard what happened, over half of them immediately resigned. It so embarrassed the university, the chancellor had to reconsider and invite Lawson to come back and be a student once again. School of the Prophets, written not in stone, not just on a building, but written on the hearts of a people. We are to be a prophetic people. Reverend Jesse Miles comes out of that sort of strong leadership. He grew up in northern Louisiana, doing his part in the desegregation movement. He went to Grambling State University because he wanted to understand people, and he studied sociology, earning his degree there. He continued working on a PhD in sociology at St. Louis University, and since then has come to teach at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln, to be part of the faculty and support at Doane College. He's done diversity training both locally and nationally, but his greatest call and passion is to live out that vision of being pastor of No Greater Love Christian Church here in Lincoln. His partner in life is his wife, Lily Miles, a teacher at Scott Middle School. They have 3 sons and 7 grandchildren, including 2 sets of twins. When asked, do twins run in your family, he will tell you they do now. Friends, I'd like you to get ready to hear this speaker, one who tears down walls of division. And so we will hear the Battle of Jericho.
I'm certainly happy to be here, to be a part of this celebration, and to all the dignitaries on the platform. I'm not sure I'm supposed to be sitting here. And I don't know who you was talking about with that introduction, but I thank you very, very much. To be honest with you, I don't really know why you need a keynote speaker. Can you hear me? If I step down here, can you hear me? Or is there too much of an echo? I need a response. Yeah, okay. Is it too much? They can't hear you. Oh, up there. Oh, they can't hear me up there? Oh, I didn't see you up there. I'm sorry. So, I got you. All right. Okay. I don't know why we need a keynote speaker, because everything has been said. That the essays were just great. And it's like I'm looking at the essays, I'm trying to take notes. Together we stand. We could have just stayed right there on that one, recognizing the value of the Dr. King holiday. Why do we value it? We could just stay right there. And just knocking it out with just keeping the promises. And so what do you say after that? So I'm going to go off script, on this one, because I think this is good. And we've been doing this for a number of years in terms of coming here and celebrating Dr. King and his values and his beliefs. And we do that, and I do have to be a little bit honest. We do that today. And then where do we go tomorrow? Right? Come on now. Come on. Thank you. Do we go back to business as usual? Do we come here and we just glad and we have joy for a day? Because we can say that we came here, we acknowledge and we honored, and then we go back about doing nothing? All right? And so I'm glad to be here, and I hope those essays stay with you, because we can't afford for you not to take to heart what you said in your essay, right? And 2 years from now, 3 years from now, we expect to see the tangible results of that ideal that struck your heart. Oftentimes, when we do these presentations and we talk about Dr. King, we do keep reciting the I Have a Dream. And I did a Google search of just Dr. King's speeches, and I would say 9 out of 10 of those was always relevant to the I Have a Dream, as if that was the only speech that he had given. And even when we get the I Have a Dream speech, we run to the I Have a Dream component of it as if there were no other parts. Come on, stay with me. Right? As if there were no other parts. And if you go to the sections before the I Have a Dream speech, and let me pause for a second and say it this way, I want to say it wasn't so much that Dr. King had a dream, it is a dream that had him. And so I'm hoping that through your essays, there's something in it that captures you so much that you know that this world will be made different if you act on your set of beliefs. And that's what Dr. King did. He said that this dream that I have, it didn't come from me. Right? And sometimes we think that it came from the statements that said, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Even though that was penned on paper, Dr. King would say, it didn't come from men. It came from our Creator. We call him God. It came from our Creator, that if we read in the book of Genesis that we were created in his image. I dare you then try to mar that with your own set of prejudices and biases and beliefs. And so Dr. King was saying this dream thing, these truths, these values got a hold of me in such a way that it would not let me hold my peace. That's how strong this conviction was. So, I like the idea that we come here and we polish, we give him all the accolades, but let's be real. It hasn't always been that way. Come on now. Oh, got an amen card, all right. And you better give me a time frame, Oscar. You know me, all right? Okay? It hasn't always been that way. When Dr. King was here, and when he was pointing out about the institutional and institutionalized injustices, people were not talking about how good he was then. Because anytime you start criticizing or questioning institutionalized injustices, that system will come back and do something to you. Say that. Right? Okay? So you got to be strong in your convictions, because not everybody is going to agree with them, and you got to be able to stand when everybody else is telling you you need to stop. Come on. Okay. All right? And so one of the things that we find in another one of his speeches, where he talks about the dream, and when he talks about what he means about the dream, and what it means about all men, mankind are created equal, he said, certainly we're not talking about they're all created equal in terms of their abilities, right? In terms of their beliefs, but they all are created equal when it comes to their worth, in terms of their human capital, in terms of who they are. That's where the value lies. I dare anyone then to devalue me based upon my race, my gender, my socioeconomic status, or whatever it might be. Who gave you that right? You kind of me? Okay? Listen to me. Because as a nation, as a country, as a state, we say to people, we believe in justice, equality. But I said this the other day, and I will keep saying it. Sometimes justice was spelled incorrectly. Come on, stay with me. The problem that we had as a, can you see me? The problem that we had as a country in its origin, that when we said to people, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, we said that only means just us. Okay. Well, J-U-S-T, Paul, U-S. And so when we were talking about equal rights, historically, and we have evidence to prove it, that when we were talking about equal rights, we weren't talking about, come on somebody, we weren't talking about black folks. We weren't talking about women. All right. Can I be honest? Can I be honest? Yes. For the most part, when we said we hold these truths to be self-evident, we were talking about white males who own property, who did this. I'm glad that Dr. King realized that when we said we hold these truths, we had to go to a higher source who gave us a different definition, and he said to many of the white males at that time, we're going to make you mean what you said you did mean. That's right, amen. So we hold these truths to understand that all of us are created equal, and we have to say we have a constitution there, we have documents there that we're going to use, and it takes us years to do it. We're going to keep walking on this, we're going to keep walking on this promise that all men are created. That's where we are. That's where we are. And so when we give him the accolade, not as a man, because if you go back and listen to Oscar, where are you? Are you timing me? You better time me. Okay? 1 minute? 1 minute? Can I get 1 minute? That means 5. But what's okay? Because part of it that we have to honestly do some self-examination. And we have to be able to say that when we look at the history of our country, that we have an inclusive idea versus an exclusive reality. We say it this way in the Baptist church. Sometimes we don't practice what we preach. So we had an ideal that said, come, bring them your tired, your poor, your hungry. Bring them, you can live and you can be in this country. But in reality, we said, you all stay over there. And for some people, we said, we're not going to even count you as a whole human being. You're only 3/4 of the value you are. And so we have to bridge this gap between the real and the ideal. And that's what Dr. King did in this country. That's what Mrs. Bullock did in this community. That's what Mrs. Shanks did in this community. This is what the Wright Robinsons did in this community. This is what Paul William Allen did in this community. So we got to bridge this gap that exists between the have, and I'm not talking about Tyler Perry, between the have and the have-not. And all of us in here have a responsibility to do this. My last statement. This is my last statement. This is my last statement. We have to really believe that. If we say that Nebraska is a good life, it's supposed to be inclusive, then it's supposed to be the good life, including all. We can't be trying to take away rights that were given to us, not from man, but for someone much greater and will always be greater than. Thank you very much for allowing me.
Thank you, Pastor. That was incredible. I got nothing. As an employee of the Department of Justice, I am honored and very proud to be part of this ceremony each and every year. And I'm also very humbled and honored to be part of the gatekeepers this century, the conduit to civil rights for all Americans. It is my pleasure to introduce Don Nevins, who will make the Lifetime Achievement Award, and we'll also do the MLK Humanitarian Award. Just briefly, during the Civil Rights Movement, Hughes and Dr. Leela Shanks and their family decided to fight against the injustices that have been endured by this country's African American population for many years. For over 50 years, Leela and Hughes worked for the equal rights in America and have worked as advocates for justice, peace, and human dignity as Lincoln's activists. The establishment of this award is to honor Hughes and Leela Shanks by recognizing the lifetime commitment to justice. It's now my pleasure to introduce Don Nevins to make these presentations.
Good afternoon to all, and thank you for attending today's ceremony. It is my honor and my privilege to present this next award to this person coming up to the stage here real soon before the audience here today. The 2015 recipient of the Hughes and Leela Shanks Lifetime Award goes to Ms. Esther Cashmere, and I share the following words. Ms. Cashmere has devoted her time, energy, and skills as a public servant, Her dedication started in 1972 as the first Afro-American female that was hired by the Department of Correctional Services on the custody side. Ms. Cashmere was appointed to the parole board by Governor Ben Nelson on September 9, 1995. After several years as a board member, she was appointed by Governor Dave Heinemann to serve as the board's chair from 2005 to 2015. She recognizes individuals and groups for their continued commitment to community initiatives. She has been a pillar of stability in the Lincoln and the Omaha community, and it is my profound honor to present this award to her for someone who has truly made a difference in the lives of so many people. Would you please come forward, stand, and be recognized?
This is such a tremendous honor. It truly is. I have listened to the speeches of our youngsters. Wow, I am so proud of each and every one of you, and I do feel that your job, your work, your words will continue. Just before my son received his law degree, he called me. It had to have been about 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm sound asleep. I hear his voice, "Mom, wake up." It was so soft. The first thing I thought, something's wrong. "No, Mom, nothing's wrong." He said, "I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about all of the people, and you especially, who have got me where I am." He says, "I have a whole list, if not 4. I too have a list of if not 4. I would not be standing here." Behind me, this man, he had a dream of which my parents had, a dream of which my parents drove me to be independent, to be strong, and to be recognized. My only regret at this point in time is my mother is not here to see this. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. The state of Nebraska, Dr. Martin Luther King commemorative ceremony, has been in existence for many, many years. It was originally held at the Malone Community Center, but through the leadership of Oscar Harriet, this ceremony has been moved to our beautiful state capitol rotunda. Mr. Harriet was then appointed by then Governor Mike Johans to head this yearly commemorative ceremony. Since the beginning of the commemorative ceremony, there has always been a humanitarian award. The humanitarian award was created to honor those individuals or organizations whose life, whose work, and commitment to equality, justice, and fairness mirrored that of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It salutes those who continue his work. It is to inspire us all to make our city, our state, and our country a place where all can achieve life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Today, our world is faced with unprecedented problems. Terrorist activities are consuming the world, and innocents in France, Belgium, and Nigeria are being slaughtered. Events in Missouri, New York, and Ohio have increased the racial divide, and the notion that we're living in a post-racial society seems a distant dream. Law enforcement officials are assassinated in cold blood. Hunger and homelessness continue despite a resurgent economy. Except for our Native American brothers and sisters, we seem to have forgotten that we are a nation of immigrants. We are faced with serious problems. We say to you today that it is only by staying together, by working together, and standing together, and finding solutions together, can we realize the dream of Dr. King. This year, we are honoring the Nebraska community and the good works that these organizations and other organizations are doing throughout the state. With that said, we are recognizing a few organizations, not all, a few. They are co-recipients. We are just touching the surface. There are many more. The purpose is to encourage us all as a community to become a more perfect union and to realize the dream of Dr. King. As I call your organization, please come forward and stand in front of the podium. By standing here, you are affirming your commitment to the dream of Dr. King and to continue to do the work necessary to realize his dream in our beloved state of Nebraska. The Center for People in Need, Beatty Brash, for their work in combating poverty. For their work in combating poverty, building strong families, and advocating for the immigrant and refugee population. The Open Door Mission, Reverend Tom Barber, please come forward. For their work in providing shelter, food, and services for the homeless and the near homeless, and also for their groundbreaking program for our veterans who are homeless. The Nebraska-Lincoln Regional Adult Parole Office, Ken Quinn, will you please come forward? For their steadfast work in diversity and building stronger relations that cut across ethnic and racial lines. Union College and students, Chris Blake, for their unswerving work in the area of human diversity. And Ms. Esther Kashmer, please come forward, for your years of service and commitment to justice. The Humanitarian Award will be on display throughout the community, and it will be permanently housed at the Malone Community Center where this all began. Let this serve as an inspiration to us all to fulfill the dream of Dr. King, to work together, to stand together, and find solutions together to make our state, our nation, a more perfect union. Remember, together we stand. Thank you.
Okay. So what we'd like to do is if you four would stay here, if I can get everyone on the platform to stand, please. The essay, McDonald essay presenters, if you would come up as well. Simi, if you would come up as well. And we're going to introduce this and some, Larry, where are you at? Okay. Larry, we are going to present this to you. I'm not sure if Larry mentioned that this humanitarian award will be displayed at his site for the next 30 days, and then it will go on to the individuals here. So Larry, if you would stand here. You may stand.
We want to thank everyone who sacrificed their time to be here today. Please give a round of applause to our essay presenters today. Thank you. And if you'll notice our signer, Mr. Thompson Kay. Where are you, Mr. Kay? Will you please stand? Thank you. To our keynote speaker, where is he? Jesse has been a very good friend for a number of years. He brought it, didn't he? And of course, look at here. This is amazing. When I see Beatty Brash, Pastor Tom. Yeah. Just before we leave and just before we close, I'd like to tell you that this doesn't end the program. On Monday, we have our youth from the Lincoln Public Schools, and they will be marching, they'll be here, and they'll be presenting their program in that room, the Warner Chamber. And at 7 o'clock Monday night, there'll also be a program at the Mount Zion Baptist. With that saying, let us all rise.
Let us bow together. Our Creator, we have saluted the flag, we've sung songs, we've heard speeches, we've heard a sermon. We ask you now that we might hear your spirit and move from this place, doing things to make a change, to make a difference. We ask that you would guide us and fill us, that we might show to others that with God all things are possible, and may they not be dreams, but realities that demonstrate the power and the grace of God. Bless and keep us as we leave this place. We ask it in the name of our Savior, Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Please remain standing for the colors being retreated.
Bring that on. Order on. Justin. Carry.